The always outspoken former state lawmaker Robert Herkes went before the Senate Committee on Tourism on Monday, a first step in the approval process for his nomination to the Board of Directors for the Hawaii Tourism Authority. The committee is chaired by Hilo Senator Gil Kahele, and it gave everyone a chance to hear some of Herkes' ideas for a healthier tourism industry.
Thank you, Chair and members. I spent most of my life in the visitor industry. I was involved in hotels and hotel management for over 40 years. When I was with Inter Island Resorts, when it still existed, we had 7 hotels on 3 islands. I was responsible for the building maintenance operation of those hotels. I've been been chair of what was then the Hawaii Hotel Association. I've been on the board of the Visitors Bureau and a number of other organizations. I'm a third generation resident of Hawaii Island. And if I may anticipate some of your questions, I think the industry in some ways has lost its way. When I was very active in hotel management, we competed with Grace Guslander at the Cocoa Palms, and I learned some lessons from her. She was a tough competitor. In later years, when I went back, I was asked to see what I could do with the Coney Inn. I put a lot of that, the Grace Guslander and a lot of those old things into play at the Coney Inn, soft Hawaiian music and so on and so forth. When the hotel was sold some months later, it was in the black. I then went down to the Kona Surf, a 550-room hotel, no beach, out there by itself. The owners of the hotel were an insurance company out of Philadelphia. They canceled the management agreement with Inter Island and told me to take it independent. So here I am with a 550-room hotel in one of the lowest occupancy areas in the state of Hawaii, and I've got to make a go of this. So I went back in time. I took some pages out of the Grace Guslander book. What I developed was something that we called Orchid Service. We went back in time. All incoming guests were greeted with a flower lei by a Hawaiian hostess in the lobby. We gave them champagne in the afternoon, coffee in the morning, and in the evening we put orchids everywhere. We had night turn-down service. We put orchids all over the pillows, all over the bed, in the toilets, all over the counter. We did the same thing in the public restrooms. Our Hawaiian music, our shows were old-time, soft Hawaiian music. And this carried on all through the hotel. We outsold all of our mainland competitors easily. And when the hotel was sold, in those days we were running an 80% occupancy, an $80 rate, which in those days was good. When the hotel was taken over by the new owners, they took out all of the orchid service, and within 3 years the hotel was closed. What I would like to do in HTA, if I am fortunate enough to be approved, I would like to take a good hard look and go back in time. When the Guslanders and the Childs and the Kellys and those people were in charge of our hotels, you knew you were in Hawaii. I think we've lost a lot of that, and I'd like to go back and maybe we can develop something called Hawaii Whole Time, and try to get hotels to get into this mode, and I think that's one of the things that can save us. As I say, Mr. Chair, I've been in the hotel business all my life, and I would deem to be very fortunate if I was able to join HTA and bring my thoughts to the industry.
Do you want to expand some more when you say that the industry has lost its way?
I think if you check into some of the hotels in Hawaii, it's no different from being anywhere else in the mainland. I think we have to go back to the old days, the Grace Guslanders, and the experience that I learned from, and she was a competitor of ours, and what I learned and what I put into the Coney and into the Kona Surf when we were running those, when we were in a positive cash flow and when the Coney was making money. I think we have to as I keep, and I don't want to misunderstand it, but going back in time, go back to our Hawaiian values, go back to our hospitality, bring more Hawaiians into the industry, honor the old-time Hawaiian music, and what we used to do in Hawaii. I'd like to see that come back. And I think we can do it through some specific programs. I think we can develop Aloha Hawaii hotels or something like that, and try to see if people will go along with us. We'll work with the Hawaiian community, Hawaiian values, and give them the opportunity to explore that new venue, that new opportunity to create tourism in Hawaii.
But don't the current fiscal constraints, the realization of costs, and even mainland management, don't they all act to subdue some of those changes?
Well, I was faced with that kind of thing when I took over the CONASURF. You've got to do whatever it's going to take to increase your occupancy. The hotel business, it's a fixed asset. You've got to recognize that the only way you're going to do it in the industry is that you've got to get decent occupancies and rate, because it's a huge fixed asset. And all of the things that you can do to encourage people to come stay at your hotel that make it a little different, like we did, like I did at the CONASURF. That's what we have to do. That nut is absolutely fixed because of the cost of building hotels. And so anything you can do to increase your occupancy is absolutely essential. And you've got to get it over 80%, and you've got to get up in there. And I would try to put together a program to encourage people to come into that mode and see how we can encourage them to do that.
Finally, over the last several years, a number of people in the public and even legislators have talked about a capacity and having a finite limit on the number of visitors that can actually come here. What are your thoughts on that?
I got a real problem with that. It's a long-time hotel, man. No, it's our main influx of cash. I don't think we should cap it.
Herkes was supported in public testimony given by Peter Fithian, who's worked side by side with Herkes for many years during the Hawaiian International Billfish Tournament in Kona.
Particularly in my comments, which obviously haven't reached you, I said that I thought that this man had so much experience in this subject. He's run hotels. He's gone to the best hotel school in the world, where a lot of this kind of stuff is prima facie work that you do. He served as a councilman, representative, and senator, so he has some idea how government proceeds. And I think that he stands out among this group today as a tremendous asset for HTA, which I happen to think is doing quite a good job. It was done in earlier days by some of us in visitors bureaus and so forth, but I think they have done a great job in the last few years sort of getting themselves organized in that position. I think their staff is good. But I cannot say enough about how I think Mr. Herkes would be very helpful among the people mentioned today and this whole operation. But unquestionably very capable man. Thank you.
Herkes also had some specific ideas for revitalizing tourism in Hilo.
I was born and raised in Hilo, so it's a soft part of my heart. I first worked at the Nanialo Hotel. Was a two-story wooden building as a waiter in 1947. That goes back a ways. The Banyan Peninsula is the key to the economic revitalization and stability of East Hawaii. I think we need to. I would like to see. I would like to see HTA take over the management of the Banyan Peninsula under some agreement with DLNR, and then I would like to make it a visitor destination where the golf course is now. I would love to see an international village honoring those people that first came to the Big Island to work in sugar. We would have a 10-room lodge. Japanese lodge, Chinese lodge, Korean lodge, Scotch, German, whatever, and then entertainment from those different countries on a nightly basis. And I think it would be a major attraction for the Banyan Peninsula and for East Hawaii. But I think that I don't think the Illinois has done a very good job of managing the leases. They certainly haven't done a good job of managing the Naniloa, of hotel that I'm very close to. And I think that I'd like to see HTA take over the management of the Banyan Peninsula and develop it as a tourist destination resort for East Hawaii.
So maybe you could tell us then, in your idea of going back to the past, is there a place for something like gaming then and enhancing the visitor experience in Hawaii?
I believe there is. And one of the problems I think we have is that every time we talk about gaming in the state of Hawaii, we use the Las Vegas model. And that's the wrong model. I have a real problem with that model. I think there's some limited ability. Now, if anybody thinks there's no gambling in Hawaii, I don't know where you've been. I'd rather see it controlled, taxed, and make more sense out of it.
I have someplace to go at 3 o'clock.
Is that over or under?
I hope I answered your question.
Well, I guess, I like your answers in your questionnaire because I know that with the kind of experience that you have, I think you can probably bring a lot of that experience to the discussions at HTA, especially about the marketing. I think there's always a lot of talk about, and making or modernizing our product. I don't know what that means. In some senses, because modernizing our product, does that mean we do a taller Ferris wheel than they have in Las Vegas? I don't quite get it.
Back in time. I want to roll back.
The other nominees were Denise Yamaguchi, Donna Domingo, Randolph Pereira, and L. Richard Freed Jr. All will need the approval of the full Senate.